The Shepnaz podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today. And with me, I still have Pastor Zack, Josh, and Will Ruart. And yesterday, we started by doing a little analysis of the past year of the podcast, our first year of the podcast, and some things that were unique about the numbers for it, and learned a little bit about Will. So if you've missed that, you want to go back and hit that. But now today, we're going to take a look at the top 5 podcasts for 2023 as seen through the eyes of Will Ruart. And we'll kind of open the discussion and evaluate whether we agree with Will's choices or whether we have some ideas of our own, that kind of thing. But before we get into all of that, we are recording this just a few days before Christmas. We're recording this on the 19th of December. But by the time that you hear this, you're going to hear this, the day will be Thursday after Christmas. And I just thought for a second, since we're looking forward to Christmas coming in a few days, maybe we would discuss, I'll start with you, Zack. Do you have a particular family favorite food that is kind of a Christmas time thing?
Yes, actually.
All right, so let's hear this.
Yes, so my father, for as long as I can remember, ever since I was a kid, makes these special chicken wings, and they're like soaked in some kind of soy sauce heavenly liquid, and I could eat them until I die. It's one of those things that every single person. It's funny. Okay, so I have a cousin, Ben. He now lives in California, but when we were young and we were all little cousins, and we'd run around, and my dad would make this big batch of these chicken wings, and we'd have to try to beat Ben to the crock pot because Ben would literally steal every single chicken wing in the crock pot as like a small child. We'd have to beat him up for these chicken wings. And I did get confirmation that this year Dad is making the chicken wings again.
Nice.
So I'm very much looking forward to the chicken wings.
You're going to have to bring some of those to church.
There ain't going to be none left over, bro.
That's on Christmas Day.
I've never heard
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
It's a Christmas Eve tradition.
Christmas Eve chicken wings.
I think that's a tradition with a lot of families is chicken wings on Christmas Eve, isn't it?
If you don't do that, you're not
You don't love
Christian.
Jesus?
I don't know.
Oh, no.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, that's something that, as long as I can remember, that's something Dad has done.
That's crazy.
And I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Josh,
Nice.
Let's hear from you. Now, obviously, we have some very shared experiences. So, but if
Why?
I don't know. If you have one favorite Christmas food, like what's that one thing that you're looking for?
I'll try. I want to say 2.
Well, you pick
But
one.
I'll
and
pick
I'll probably
one.
take the other.
I'll pick one, and I'll leave the other for you, and then we'll see if it was the other that I was thinking.
All right.
We'll go with gooey pull-apart rolls.
Oh, okay. Well, I know what my other is already, but go ahead.
It's just lots of sugar and carbs and stuff that's not good for your health.
Way to start the
Terrible
day.
for your arteries.
Yes.
But it'll get that blood sugar just through the roof, and
Yeah.
As it should be.
You are pumped to start
you're
ripping
ready-
open presents.
You're ready
Yes.
to go.
Yeah.
Is there honey? Is it just brown sugar? I've never made it. There's always a debacle because some of them have walnuts or pecans or some sort of
There's
nut.
nuts on one, nuts on. We have to have 2 of them.
Yeah,
So
so,
we
I
have
mean,
2 completely separate.
I like them both. Usually, I like take like 3 or 4 of each of them, half the pan.
Yeah.
The ones in the middle.
People are fighting Josh for the rolls.
They're
The
made
ones
in
in
a bundt cake pan is how they're made.
You let a couple people take the first ones because they're a little more done on the top, and then you go swoop in, and then you get the real I won't say uncooked,
So
but not
you kind of
we'll say 90% cooked, so they're just a little
doughy.
gooey, stretchy, really just and covered in
you
sugar.
fake
You love
the
that one.
sacrificial brotherly love, offering once to other people.
No, you go first.
No,
my
you
secret,
first.
my secret might be out now, but
Well,
I mean,
Christmas
that
is over,
Yeah,
so-
that's the
Touché.
That's true.
You got
but
one
I
more
mean,
year.
for future years. But a couple things. I mean, that's what you learn being the oldest, right? And so you just sit back and watch them make their mistakes that
They're
you've
like,
already made.
I always wondered why this was the one time that
Josh is nice. Yeah.
Bogart his way to the front.
Yep. That's true. Very true.
All right.
All right.
Will?
So now we got to see if you'll get the other.
Yeah, I'm sure I will.
I don't know if you.
Okay, Will.
I'm just gonna be generic. Deviled eggs.
Ooh, yeah.
My sister makes some good deviled
Now,
eggs.
you can't say devil.
I don't know
talking
what
about
else to.
You,
I don't know what else
you
to
eat
call 'em.
devil eggs.
Mustard.
Christmas?
You like mustard eggs? Cold mustard eggs.
Cold mustard eggs. Yes.
We do angel eggs in the
Yeah,
Zaborski
right. That's what I
house.
thought. I thought we got to call them angel eggs.
No, you can't
But
sleep on deviled eggs.
Deviled eggs
So
are really good.
Holiness unto the Lord eggs.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Yep.
I don't know. Yeah, those. I love those.
With or without relish. Some people make them with relish.
Relish?
Relish.
Have you never had?
No.
That's the thing, right?
I don't like relish.
I have an aunt who does one with pickled jalapenos on
Yeah.
top, and they're kind of the best thing that's
Pickled
ever happened to
jalapenos is
deviled
fine.
eggs.
I almost said radish. Relish is disgusting.
Okay.
All right.
I like smoked.
To each their
So
own.
angel eggs. For
Angel eggs. Yes.
Will.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Unangel eggs.
So
there we go.
my pick. I don't know if it was the other one that you were thinking, but definitely my pick would have to be Mexican beef spread. So
Oh shoot!
I
Well,
need
then
you
there's
to-
a third.
Yeah.
I need you to tell
Whoops.
me everything about the words.
I
that
just
came
want to
out of your
say
mouth.
I have the most
Yeah.
generic out of all of us. Chicken wings and
The chicken wings is pretty generic, but
chicken wings is not generic. I've never heard anybody
chicken
make
wings.
chicken wings for Christmas. Ham.
well, it wasn't. Were you listening? It was Christmas Eve. That's
Christmas
what
Eve.
you did.
That's why I
Closer to
clarified.
Christmas.
That's why
Still
it's
closer to
clarification.
Christmas than anything else.
Okay,
All right, so
let's
you
not
do
get
have to-
distracted.
you do
I
have to
want to know
explain
about this Mexican
You do have
beef
to-
spread.
you have to
Everything.
explain
All right. So, CW, if you're listening, I'll put the recipe out. But it's going to be cheese, like American cheese, or we use Velveeta cheese. And
super melty, gooey.
yeah, about a pound of that. And then about 8 ounces of pimentos and mayonnaise and chipped beef, a lot of chipped beef in it. And that's all mixed together and melted. And then you can have it on crackers or bread or
Now, I also explain where this came from, because it's not like one day our family was like, let's just throw this together. But there is a story behind that too.
so the story predates.
And there should be other people that know about it.
Yes.
There might be other listeners that have this. Maybe they don't call it.
They might not
that,
call it the
but-
same. So it is. It predates me. So my grandma on my dad's side, from what I understand, found this recipe in the newspaper. Downtown Columbus, we used to have a store called Lazarus, which later got bought out by Macy's, and now it's just gone. But
There is a Lazarus building, but
yes,
it's just
and
nothing. Office.
so Lazarus used to publish recipes in the Columbus Dispatch, and that was one of the recipes. And she tried it one year, and after they did that, it became a family tradition.
So I do have a question about that. Do you know, was it was it printed around Christmas, or was this like a recipe she picked up in July and then decided to make it for Christmas?
I have no idea.
All
and
right.
we will never know.
Oh no, we
unless-
could probably find out. We could.
unless we ask her in heaven. I think
I
that's
was-
the only
well,
way we're going to find out.
I was going to go based off the print date of the newspaper, because we could track that down.
well, maybe.
we might be able to track that down. It's going to take
that
some digging.
might
But
include a trip to the library and microfiche. That I don't know.
Yeah.
But okay.
no, so
I think we're pretty far down this rabbit hole at
Time
this
out.
point.
I got to go back to my one that I was hoping you would pick up.
All right.
Which was is it called Christmas salad?
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
that's Christmas. It's in the
Yes.
name, Christmas
Yeah,
salad.
it's very
That's
good.
just like some fruit, And
Pine needles.
no pine
Just kidding.
needles.
All right, so today we want you guys to comment with like what your favorite Christmas
Yes,
Oh,
food
please.
for
is.
sure.
We would love to have that.
Bonus
feedback.
points if you include the recipe.
Yes, yes, because we know that's possible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It might be meatballs. You never know.
Exactly.
You know, maybe
He was
All
just
right.
ahead of
ahead of the
where we're-
curve.
And if you're not sure what we're talking about, check out
All right.
yesterday's episode.
So, William, let's get back to you. So the purpose of our episode today is to talk about the top 5 podcast. And before we start unveiling the top 5 that you have picked out, we kind of wanted to maybe do some honorable mentions. Maybe they were on your radar and they didn't quite make the cut for the top 5, but give us something for an honorable mention.
I could say the one relationship, not programs. It trying to remember all these podcasts is a little hard, but
That's what happens when you binge watch them. And,
that one was Shepherd Community Center, right?
the community center.
In Indianapolis.
Yes, with Jay Height.
yes,
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think you were talking to him.
I was.
Yes.
Yes.
See, I remember some of it.
I remember.
I remember
a little
who
bit
was
of it.
there, but I don't remember. No, shit. I did listen to some of it, but it was. I listed all of it. Let me rephrase it. I'm sorry. To remind
remember some of
myself,
it.
I listened to some of it, but
Yeah.
it was just him talking about how they started Shepherd Community and how it all. I can say I don't want to mix up any words, but how it started and what is it now compared to what it was then, and how it's influencing other people's lives. And like it says in the title, relationship, not programs. And he specifies like having programs is good for a church, but having more of a relationship with others is a bigger influence to others, especially like people in poverty and I almost said back roads, but that's not right. People who don't get the word of God as much as us. I'm not saying city folk, but more who've
No, I
been
get
into
you.
the
I get
church.
you.
More easily accessible.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that kind of echoes a lot of recently when we changed the mission statement of the church of kind of where our heads are as far as, we don't want to get caught up in just programs and doing things for the sake of we've always done these things. We're really taking a hard look at every single thing that we do and say, is this actually helping people get closer to Jesus? Is this an opportunity to build a relationship? Is this an opportunity to, move the kingdom forward instead of just, doing things because that's what we've always done? So did Josh or Zach, I know that you did not come nearly as prepared as Will did, but were there any episodes that stuck out to you? You can see on the wall, although our viewers cannot, and the listeners certainly can't see it. But you see the 5 that we're going to go to. So, leaving those out, are there some episodes that come to mind as an honorable mention over the past year, other than the ones that you see on the list?
So Zach kind of let me in on a secret of what his was going to be. So I'm not going to take it from him, but it was going to be the same one. I will say, just a teaser for what's to come. This list is pretty solid.
Yep.
And I mean,
Thank you.
It pretty well aligns with most of my top episodes too. Maybe a little bit different order, but we can talk about that once we get into them.
I did my homework.
But we'll let Zach go with the honorable mention. That would have been mine as well.
Yeah. I'm terrible with names, and so I apologize in advance. But there was a couple who was doing an interview, and in the middle of said interview,
The Radcliffes,
thank you. That's right. Literally experienced an earthquake that you can see if you're listening to this and not just doing the audio version. Maybe a different experience. So I encourage you to go back and watch it on YouTube because you can see an earthquake happening in the middle of the interview.
Yes.
And I think what there's a lot of things that stuck out to me in that moment. One of them being their calm demeanor
Right. I was about to say
during
that.
that, as if it's like, this is just a normal thing. And I think even one of them at some point said, like, should we go check on the kids? Or, you know, like, it's just like, yeah, you would think, right?
Like, as long as we don't hear them, they're okay. Just let them sleep.
Exactly. So that stuck out to me. But I think the biggest thing that really stuck out to me when I think of that specifically as a dad is the things that we hear in America, and specifically, very specifically here in Gehanna, like, we don't face when it comes to ministry.
Sure.
You know, we face a lot, and the world is a very interesting place, but there's a lot of things and hurdles that we don't have to jump over and go through, and yet there's still times where we complain about ministry.
Excuses.
Yes, make excuses.
Yep.
It's like, oh, this is so hard. I have to do this. I have to do that. And it checked me as a pastor of like, man, like, yeah, it's not easy, but there are certain things that I would never in a million years have to dream about dealing with, you know? Because I try to put myself in their shoes and think like, all right, we just had an earthquake and they're doing a podcast, and God only knows, you know, what's after. As soon as I'm done, you know, podcast is over. You know, what's next? What's the next thing that we have to go do? It's to rescue people, to help people, you know? And that really checked me as my daughter walks into the podcast
that's
room.
all right.
If you see me disappear,
You
that's
can
why.
come on in. That's fine. So, Josh, did you have one that you wanted to get in there? Or?
Well, I while he was discussing that, I did think of one different than that. So the other one that I'll give an honorable mention is the one that we did with Milton Gay and who was his interpreter?
Mateo.
Mateo.
Yeah.
And we kind of discussed in one of our breaks that episode, and just how we're able to connect with other people through various means, right? We joked last episode about carrier pigeons, but thankfully we're not stuck to that. So we can have someone in El Salvador, someone in Guatemala, someone in the United States, all on the same call, all discussing what they're doing, and all be working towards the same mission, right?
Right.
And just how vast the reach can be and how we can effectively communicate a message of hope across the globe, really.
And think of the long-term ramifications of even just that one episode. And that one in particular is Pastor Rob was doing the interview. And while they were doing the interview, you know, Milton just brings up the fact that, yeah, we really want to plant a church in Cuba. And it would take like $10,000 to do that. And that put a seed in Pastor Rob to like, we've really got to think about this.
Yeah.
And so some very exciting things happening with that now, and just a direct result of that contact.
Yep.
For me, let me review your list, make sure I don't say one.
That's fine.
All right. My honorable mention, thank you to Rabbi Silverman coming for right as the war broke out after Israel had been attacked, and to give us some context. Really, for me, it was extremely relevant to what was going on in the world. It was giving us a biblical worldview of how to see something that we were also watching in the news at the same time. And just so many of the things that he was able to explain in such a simple and concise way in story narrative to say, look, this is why people feel the way they do. And here's what's really at play here. And so I really appreciated that episode.
Yeah, I think it helped give you a very clear lens to then hear what is being portrayed in media. news headlines and have that lens to look through about the conflict.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're probably only going to get to the number 5 of the top 5, and then the next day what we'll do is we'll hit the top 4. But we'll take a quick break, and then we'll introduce the number 5.
Well, hey, Shepherd Church, we hope that you will join us in the new year. The 21 days of prayer are coming, and we're going to start on January 1st. This time, we're going to be going through a book called The 21 Most Effective Prayers in the Bible, written by Dave Earley. We'd love for you to get a copy, and you can do so in the lobby, or you can go to shepnaz.org/resources, or you can scan the QR code on the screen to get your copy. It's only $10. We want you to have the ability to follow along with those 21 prayers in the Bible. And you can also check out our conversation with Dave on the podcast, and we'd love for you to see what God's going to do. We hope that you join us in the 21 days of prayer in 2024.
All right, we're back from the break, and we are going to now unveil, don't say it yet, but we are going to unveil the first of the top 5, which is number 5 for Will's top picks for 2020.
Church Countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Number 5.
All right, Will, we are ready to hear.
Let's hear it.
Please tell me, how long did that take you to do that?
I did it yesterday morning.
Okay. It's really good.
Thank you. You want to hear it?
All right. Yeah, we got to hit it again. Hit it again because
That's it.
he's wasting too much time.
Church Countdown. 5, 4,
Yeah.
3,
Here it comes.
1. Number 5.
All right. So my number 5 episode is going to be Design Outreach by Greg Bixler. I must have called him Bexler. That would have been bad. Let's see. Let's start off with that's a good. I like that episode as number 5 because the whole episode was him talking about how the wells, and that's what I really was drawn to was how he got to the point of actually getting to the wells, how he started. I think he said he started it with Patel, and he heard from, I don't want to mess up anybody's name, but he heard someone that, like, the wells in, I think, South America, right?
I don't know.
There's another country. Let's just say another country.
I think they're Africa.
Okay. Let's just say another.
Good thing that wasn't a question yesterday. You would got it wrong.
Thank you.
Pretty sure it's in Africa.
Okay. Well,
right,
you were
we'll
there.
go.
You should remember.
I wasn't in Africa, but yes.
You were in that episode. You know what? Let me go back before I get out of sorts. I just say just the way how he described the process of how he started with Patel and how he said we need to make something. Like, he's an engineer, not say famous engineer, but he's really good at what he does. I mean, the way how he described how he did the wells, I was blown out of the water. I didn't understand one thing, but in the end, how he took a well that lasted only 6 months to last almost 2 to 3 years or longer than that.
Yeah.
And how God created the pathway for him. It started with Patel, and then I remember him talking about how they had people from Johnson and I think it was Johnson & Johnson, or
Yeah, I think you're right.
it was Johnson & Johnson, how they had volunteers, which is incredible. You have people who want to volunteer and do this, not saying get paid, but just taking the time out of their own lives to increase somebody else's daily life. And how sorry, I'm getting a little flustered.
No, it's good.
It's just the way, the word he said was, I forget, he said something about it. I wouldn't want my family to have this. Why am I letting other people do this?
Right.
And that really hit me. Why would I ever want somebody to live this way while I'm living, like, not saying good life, but I have a life where I don't have to worry if the water is going to be bad or.
It goes to what Zach was saying about his honorable mention, right? Like, we can easily make up all these excuses of why we think ministry's hard or why we don't want to do something. And then when we take a step back and look what other people are actually going through in their daily lives, like, we don't have any room to complain. We really don't. I'll say, I'll start off with some conflict right here. I thought this episode was going to be higher in the countdown. In my ranking, this one was very close to the top. Will and I
will tell you tomorrow why the other ones were ranked that way.
That's fine. Will and I we went to MVNU at the same time. We were roommates in college, and one of the things that they stressed at MVNU is how you can make an impact in the world outside of the church in your daily work, whatever that is. If you're a nurse, if you're an engineer, if you're a English teacher, there is a place to minister to those around you in your work every day. And so I think Greg does a great job of just like showing what that actually plays out as when you follow that call, even in your daily work. Not just, it's not just pastors or people that work at church that can minister to others. Anyone in any job has a role that they can play in ministering to others.
Yeah, that was something I was going to say. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head, but like as a pastor, I feel like a lot of times people just have this expectation of like, oh, you have to go to ministry school, you have to do this, you have to have certain credentials to be a pastor to someone, to minister to people, right? And when I look at the gospel and I look at what Jesus did, he took something simple, and that was his tool to point people to Jesus, right? And that's what I love about what they're doing is like they're pointing people to Jesus through something we take advantage of every day, right? We turn on the tap and we got water.
Right.
Yep.
Right? And so they're taking something that is a need and not just filling a physical need, but a spiritual need as well.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something I love about what they're doing is that they're spreading the gospel through providing a need in that community.
Mm. And one of the things that came up in that episode, what I thought was really cool is that now that they're going into all these different territories, and as they will do it well, they're also doing like the Jesus movie, and they're doing kind of like a christening revival, and they're commissioning all those things to happen. And so not only did he find a way to take his skills, his profession, in order to turn that into something that can be used for ministry, but then he went all the way to say, okay, now we're actually going to share the gospel with them. Right. So I help them. I have done something that Jesus would do, because Jesus would give water to the person that needed it, or give food to the person, or sight to the blind. And then he would go farther and he would meet the spiritual need. And so hats off to Greg. In fact, as you're listening to this, our Because You Gave moment for this coming Sunday is Design Outreach. And in the show notes, I'll put the episode numbers for when we had him on. That was back in April, I believe. Is that right, Will?
I think so. I have it saved so I can look up real quick. Keep talking.
Just kidding. All right. So, but you can go back and listen to that if you haven't heard it. It's phenomenal what his ministry Design Outreach is doing, and they have a very ambitious agenda, and we hope to check back in with him. You will see him in the building around from time to time because he is one of our coaches for Shepnaz basketball.
Really?
So
I did not know that.
Shout out to Shepnaz basketball. I saw him just the other day during one of the practices. So we're going to, with that number 5, we're going to end today's episode, and that's not the right count for me to use. We're going to get a countdown. So what I would encourage you all to do is take some of the same steps that Greg Bixler has taken. Take a look at your life and how can my skills, and how can I do something that would fail if it wasn't for God intervening, and do it on his behalf. And I stole that from Dave Early, by the way, from the podcast earlier this week. If you want to know what's going on in the church, go to shepnaz.org. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. As always, have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.